First and foremost, to accomplish the shift, we must stand together. Last year, the Washington, D.C. switchboard system was shut down with calls that altered an immigration bill. We saw how people and nations came together after 9/11. Even though that energy was squandered by our government, it was alive and could have moved mountains. Huge anti-war movements inside and outside the United States have had powerful effects, even if our press doesn't always cover it. We saw how several women activists, the Jersey Widows, helped bring about scrutiny of the events of 9/11. Putting her life of privilege aside, we saw how Lady Diana Spencer's life ushered in a more related way of being among society in England. And in her death, the British people's outcry altered the response of the monarchy. We the people are not so impotent as the powers that be would like us to believe we are. But those with power are not going to roll over and play dead if they feel threatened they're losing their grip. So again, we must stand together, put aside internal politics, personal agendas, for the sake of the big picture. We can't continue squabbling over the scraps at the bottom of the heap while those at the top call the shots and laugh all the way to the bank. The abolition and suffrage movements made progress when they were united. We must do the same again. And I'm not talking about patriarchy in a skirt. That won't work either. We must walk our talk, support and uplift each other, not denigrate, compete, or devalue. Some specific steps we might take are deliberately working toward building bridges between goddess devotees and the progressives within traditional faiths, reaching them through Mary Magdalene, Shekinah, Fatima, and the Arabian goddesses that were once in the early Qurans. Though great strides were made by early political feminist activists, the disconnect between them and the spiritual feminists did little to further the uplifting of the divine feminine or female archetype. We can't make that mistake again. We must see both sides of the equation go hand in hand and meet on political and spiritual common ground, perhaps through mutual concerns for Mother Earth, the body of Goddess, environmentalism, and peace. We could continue to build on the work of the Unitarian Universalists who created programs such as Rise Up and Call Her Name or Cakes for the Queen of Heaven. More groups could offer interfaith services based on the sacred feminine complemented by the divine masculine, such as the Sacred Sunday services offered in Los Angeles, or the work of Temple of the Goddess in Pasadena, whose services take the form of ritual theater. These venues provide a safe and sacred place where those who might be fearful of Wicca or paganism can learn about what Goddess has to offer humanity. Let's make people of traditional faiths feel comfortable rather than intimidated when seeking her out. With that in mind, I've coined the phrase goddess advocates. For those who might not relate to being Wiccan or pagan, but want to embrace the mother, spiritually or politically, and have a way to reference this new belief. Educate, educate, educate. Act, act, act. As I'm out giving lectures about the sacred feminine, I continually come up against toxic propaganda and have to encourage people to rethink the programming and not believe the spin doctors. When they open their minds to what a world embracing the feminine would look like, it's a no-brainer, and they want more information. Of course, there are those who might say ancient cultures that worship Goddess were formed from utopias I'm describing here, and I'd say they're right. They might say these ideas are naive and idealistic. The people with the most bullets and big sticks always win. I say to both these charges, we can do better than our ancestors. We are not doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. We have free will, and if we're willing to work hard for change, it can come. We have the knowledge that this patriarchal dominator culture is failing the many. And we have the technology to enable us to create abundance for everyone on the planet if it's used wisely. So I ask you, would you rather strive for utopia and fall short, or strive for mediocrity and fall short? It's time for us to work together, be visible, and help set the agenda. It's time for our voices to be heard. It's time for us to make a difference in the world, and not just for ourselves and our children, but for our beloved mother who has been patiently waiting for us to return to our sanity.